So thank you everyone for being here and having the interest into listening to the Dharma. The importance of walking even one step toward the Buddha is more meritorious than making thousands of miles journey just to seek for temporary gratification of ordinary senses. So therefore it's good to have this thought and intent not only to learn Dharma but learn directly from the root texts. So I'm going to go over the Udanavarga, which is sometimes called Tibetan Dhammapada, because Dhammapada is a text that is found in Pali tradition, and it was not itself translated into Tibetan and not to be found in the Tibetan Buddhist Canon. But nevertheless, there is a text called Udanavarga that has 33 topics. Each of the topics are very uniquely focused on that very topic, and therefore it's the sayings of the Buddha, and that was no doubt remembered by the Arhats, Shravakas, meaning those who are hearers and tellers. Because Shravakas meaning, Shrava has a meaning of one who hears, Vaka means one who speaks, The who speaks what they heard. It comes from the word, probably thus I have heard, because if you have heard, then you're telling what you heard, So it's no, the one you heard is from the Buddha, no other than Buddha himself they heard. So the Shravakas were the people who reached great heights of saintly realizations, definitely from the practice of renunciation, definitely monastic, very simple vow of simplicity, homelessness, and living under the trees, and very simple dwellings. They're just thinking of where they lived, how they therefore realize the teachings. You could see, because the way they lived their life, it was completely unsoiled by any kind of worldly craving or desire or power or anything like that. It's completely very, very pure monastic practitioners. Pure monastic practitioners were flourished more during the lifetime of the Buddha, maybe even a couple of 100 years after him, mostly than any other communities would practice. Slowly, of course, those very senior, what do you call, Theravada. Actually, Thera means the one who is stable, cognate with the word who are stable in the discipline, and Thera. Vada means the one who are exponent, who are the elders who are exponent of the teaching they heard from their elders. So it goes back all the way to the Buddha. So this collection of sayings, they call Udanavarga in Tibetan, because of the similarity between the Dhammapada and this, and early scholars call this Tibetan Dhammapada, because they didn't read Tibetan, so they they thought it was entirely different. But sayings are pretty much similar. But quite a lot of, maybe about 40% are identical, but the rest are not to be found in the in the Dhammapada. But in any case, we are not trying to cover both here. We're just going to read through this writing directly from the Tibetan text, and there has been some translation of this before, and so if you're interested, you can of course download them for your sake. I didn't bother to, because I wanted to give a try to go straight from the text with my draft translation here, prepared from my own notes. There are 36 topics, and tonight's topic is impermanence. The topic itself is impermanence. It's a fairly big topic, and because quite a lot of them are, quite a lot of the verses are verses are very much similar because it's all has a meaning. The Varga has a meaning of being itself is very concentrated. It's very concentrated. It might even feel a bit over the top because it goes on and on about the very topic. But I don't think we can. We will be bored with impermanence because we're seeing them all the time. It's good to be validated by the teachings. First of all, of course, there is the title in Sanskrit called Udanavarga, in Tibetan called Chetu Jupe Tsom. Chetu means deliberate expressions on the topics. So very much you can call them really chapters, but it's a topic itself is not left stoned unturned. It's because it's so thoroughly dealing with the topic. So here there was an Indian monk who is attributed to not only collecting these together, Dhammapada or something, that was his name, and also he has written a commentary as well. So there's some of the stories that goes with the Udanavarga and Dhammapada are identical, but we wouldn't be able to go over the stories because they are quite long, but we will go just mainly what they call word by word meaning of this text. Firstly, the compilers use the words put the Sanskrit title as well as Tibetan translation. The purpose of the Sanskrit title is to show its traceability to the origin of the Buddha's teachings taught in Sanskrit, and also even people like us in a long time after to create some karmic connections with the blessed language of the Sanskrit, that we can pick up few words here and there. So remembering that's at least the title of these texts, Udanavarga, for instance, that it will also implant some seed for us to be more predisposed to understand the Sun teaching. Also to show the greatness of the kindness and the dedication and sacrifice made by translators, who without their ability to fathom the Sanskrit language, they could not possibly be able to translate in any languages, let alone Tibetan. Because Tibetan, remember, those Tibetans who translated this, they did translate in the early 7th century, and it wasn't totally revised and authenticated and endorsed until the 10th century, when they went a second revision of the translations. So all the translations go through very, very strenuous examination, testing, collaboration between Indian Panditas and Tibetan Lotsawas. Pandita means more like expertise. Lotsawa means the translators, those who are expert in two languages. Both the Pandita and Lotsawa work collaboratively. Maybe sometimes the Indian Pandita knew very little Tibetan, or maybe only some. But it could not be the same with the Tibetan. He has to be well versed in Sanskrit. Otherwise, he could not possibly translate into Tibetan. So that existence of keeping of the Sanskrit title is to show of the great labor of love that has gone in this, and to rejoice their amazing commitment, and therefore honoring the past great masters. And so that's the main thing. Main thing why the Sanskrit title is there. So the actual meaning, as I mentioned, means Chetu Jupe Tsom in Tibetan. Chetu means deliberate. So deliberation is there in expressing, deliberate expression. The deliberation and on the topic, whatever the topic can be. So therefore there are 36 topics here. In this case, impermanence, which is called anitya in Sanskrit. Nitya means permanence. A means not permanent. So it means transitory things. And knowing how everything is transitory or impermanence. So here the translators give homage to Buddha, homage to the omniscient. The purpose of paying homage to the omniscient So sometimes they pay homage to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, others they pay homage to Manjushri. So this belongs to the sutra. Because it's the sutra, they pay homage to the omniscient one. But the main purpose of the paying homage is to express the modesty of the translators. They not try to prove their linguistic skills here. They simply try to have their modest knowledge of language, but their love of the teachings makes them to be dedicated to translate. But they do not want to be saying that our work and translation is perfect. They seek the blessings of the Enlightened One, so that their work will be blessed, translation will be blessed by the respect and salutation given to the Omniscient One. And that is rightly so. It was an undertaking done in 7th century, revised and endorsed in 10th century. Now we're in 21st century. It has survived 11 centuries. It has enjoyed being written in gold inks. It has enjoyed being written and translated in 11 Asian languages. And some have been written in one line in English, one line in Sanskrit, another line in Tibetan, all of course in the same page, one Mongolian, Tibetan, Sanskrit, 4 Chinese, all 4 languages written in different inks. And a lot of them were all carved. All of this in Tibet was all carved on wooden, timber. They trim this, and every single letter is carved and then preserved with great care, more precious than the bank. So the reason of paying homage of the translators is rewarded for teaching to stay this long, all these years, and have the transmission of this practice. And let there be happiness, they say. Let there be happiness. The intention of the translators is that may they, by their translating of this, when people read and think on this, may it shift them to become happier by learning to change their views and attitude. Because if they haven't become exposed to teaching of impermanence, they're all holding on to things wanting to be permanent. So that's the introductory remarks of this. Now the verse number 1, Yewe Chit Jusungba, means the enlightened one, the victorious one, spoke these verses. So the compiler, Dhammapada, says these were actually spoken deliberately by the Buddha himself. Dagirab to Shebracha means I will carefully expound them in the way I've heard them. So he's just reporting what he heard. Thus I've heard. Basically, it's because some text has thus I've heard when they're prose and story, and some are like metered, versified writings. They don't have the prologue. Usually, most sutras have the prologue, where Buddha spoke, who was there, what prompted the dialogue, and so on. So that bit is not here. From that point of view, it is hard to say all sutras necessarily begins with the word Evam Maya Sutra, means thus I've heard. But here the Dhammapada says that. He says, Buddha spoke this deliberately, and I will carefully expound on them. The reason that he needs to expound on what Buddha has spoken is just in case some people are very new to the concepts and ideas, and not to mention terminology, that he will explain this. So this is more what they call promise to write. So Dhammapada is making his mission statement. He says, I will explain what Buddha spoke on this Udanavarga. So he's stating his commitment. Then also he's begging us of our commitment. Nida mukpa namsolas means removing your sleep and torpor, meaning that one who are listening and thinking, reflecting on this, should sit upright and not lean on and feel dull and sleepy and tired like that, but dispel those sleepy and sort of idle and tired mood. Yila gawa kirinyon means with a joyous mind. Please listen to me. So one should bring that joy in having the opportunity, having the freedom. Most people have no freedom. They have other things to do. They would do that instead. And so they don't have. But one should say, I've deliberately chosen to do this. And so one should rejoicingly, I'm making this commitment to my weekly study of Dharma in my Sangha. And what a wonderful it is to have the like-minded people, an organization, this organization that has started from very, very humble beginnings, all those years, still continuing the activities, and how much longer that this will continue depends how many individuals like me put my heart and joy and gratitude together. So with that in mind, one should have this amazing sense of think of others with you who could be listening to this. But there are many people, by the way, listening to wherever they are, and they will be listening through the benefit of technology. You also should sit upright, not just lie on the bed and as if listening casually in your bed while smoking and drinking. It's not, that's not permissible, by the way. But even when you read the little book, they should formalize it as a formal study of Dharma. Then the merit will be much better. So one should give whatever you do, give some degree of dignity and purpose and respect to what you do. I mean, this not because of the Dharmottara or me speaking, translating this. We are not asking for that. But he, as the compiler, out of devotion to the omniscient Buddha, he's explaining what Buddha said. He's not making up anything. He's not saying anything that is not intended by the Buddha. He himself is a probably chosen, Pandita, who is probably prophesied the Buddha to be an exponent, to be the letter, to be the explainer. Buddha said, in the last 5,500 years, I myself will appear as a book and those who explain to them. So he himself must have that courage to gladden other people. Please listen with joy. Don't listen with some kind of sadness, saying this is rather too long or this is too repetitive, all that sort of things. Always listen like the deer, stopping eating grass and listening to the lutists playing the musical instruments. So it is said elsewhere. So that's the first verse, which is really is this amazing deliberate expression of the meaningful expression of Buddha needs heedful attention, with joyful, delightful attention, by eliminating the conduct and attitudes that are like a pot that is either put upside down or leaking or dirty. Free of all those three stains of a vessel, one should listen with great joy. The reason for that is then it will gladden you. It will make you to be happy what you heard, what you remember later what you heard. It will bring you and empower you to apply these teachings and therefore make yourself feel knowledgeable how to be in such situations. So that's the first verse of basically the asking everybody's heedfulness to listen to this. Listen to this verse, first number. Then second one is Tamche Kemba Kyopapo, means omniscient one is the omniscient one. Buddha is regarded as omniscient one. Omniscient one is one who knows all there is to know on a relative level, as well as all there is what the reality it is, an ultimate level. So Buddha is omniscient one. And not only is omniscient and who's expert in knowing, but what he knows is valid one. Tamche Kyopapo means what he knows, what he teaches, what he knows will protect you, will make you safer with that knowledge. If any knowledge is powerful, this knowledge will be more powerful because this will protect you from kind of inner enemies and foes and troubles, that you have no medicine or no protection, this science of mind that you know, because you're knowing of your mind, but this omniscient one is who also knows his mind. And you also will be able to know your mind, and you also will know how to guard your mind from thinking certain thoughts, and you will know it's your thought that is causing this trouble, instead of things otherwise, because then you are protected. You are protected as a result of listening to the protector. Tupa Chenpo Tukzewa. Tupa Chenpo means the great mighty one, means great sage. The great sage, who is very compassionate one, who is not only omniscient, but somehow omniscient, who knows things, but not compassionate. The knowledge without compassion is cause of trouble. Knowledge without compassion is a kind of materialistic, intellectual materialism is cause of ego and problem. Knowledge with compassion is indeed cause of happiness and allay of the sufferings of troubled sentient beings, and whose compassion is great, a very compassionate one. Who's very compassionate one, Kui Taman Zimbabwe means with his last physical existence. This is referred to Shakyamuni Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha had many lives, many lives as a bodhisattva in human form, and 500 or more in non-human form, but animals and so forth as a bodhisattva. Buddha had uncountable lives as a bodhisattva, and this particular historical Shakyamuni Buddha that was born in Lumbini and passed away Kushinagar by the name of Shakyamuni, this was his last existence, meaning Buddhas are very rare. So his appearance and his passing were itself the teaching of impermanence. Even Buddhas do not exist always, not that they are not able to, but their passing away itself is a great teaching. So as not to hold on to anyone or anything if they are passing into life. Do not mourn or groan just because they are passing. Buddha himself, completely omniscient, omnipotent, but he too gave in to the law of impermanence and passed away into existence. The Blessed One has spoken thus. So he's again reiterating that what he's going to say in the following verses are the very words that are spoken by the Buddha. So listening to the words of the Buddha and thinking of them and showing what they may have teaching to us is what it says. Alas. So word alas is an expression of lamentation. As one is lamenting that people don't know this. Goodness gracious, people don't know that everything is impermanent. So he's feeling sad. They should be taught and educated well and truly when we teach our young about things. We don't teach them as impermanent things. We think there is a thing called Father Christmas. He's always there, comes down the chimney every year. What a lot of crap is it? Teaching the wrong stuff right from the very beginning. See? So Buddha, you see some Buddha statues stand mostly lying down, To teach them, no, there's no. So, alas, cause of sadness. Why don't we teach the real thing? Why don't we say that things are impermanent? All compounded, all productions are impermanent. That includes anything in the physical world, in this materialist world, from what we call in this physical world, we can call it, and including we can call it from matter to consciousness, even our emotions, even our ups and downs and gains, victories and fitness and friendship, they're all impermanent. Don't ever get disappointed when they become impermanent. So don't think it's your fault or his fault. What is the reason why he's saying alas is because people don't know that this happens to all the time. They think it's why me. people straight away rebel against the reality. They don't even know that's the nature of things. It's like tree falls down and cries. So people not educated. These are really important educations. Teaching geography, teaching everything, but not teaching that everything is impermanent as a reality. It's so and they're all impermanent. So it's good to, if you next time you see things impermanent, you wouldn't be sad. If you feel sad, you haven't heard this before. If you feel sad, it's because of others who haven't heard this before. That's the sadness, not because things are impermanent. This is not impermanence is not cause of sadness. Those who know, For the seers, Aryas, that is their meditation. They're always meditating on the impermanence. Then whenever something happens, they don't complain. Then they have the view, they have the eyes to see the impermanence, so then they don't complain. Sadness is those who don't know these things are impermanent. And then they are thinking they are the same person, or what happened was still happening, or things goes on and on and on. That's why it's so sad, All production are by nature distractions. Anything that has meaning, anything that is arising, anything that's arising, like you're baking the bread or something, you can see the bread is rising, Sure. How long it's rising in the oven. As soon as it comes out, it will fall. All chopped into pieces, it goes down the pipe. Again, bread, there's a death of the bread, poor thing. He was rising in the bread style in the oven, and soon it is all collapsing. So people don't know these things. So Buddha meditated. He sat under the tree with this meditation. He was meditating on the impermanent. Being born must come to disintegration. Whatever being born meaning, whatever happened. If you are peaking your career or success, don't get too attached to it. It will soon collapse. Whether it's fame or health or relationship or success or profit or gain or whatever, don't ever get attached to them. But sooner or later, it will have no trace that even have happened. It's amazing teaching. They who are at peace rest at ease. Those who know this will not be moaning and groaning that this is happening to me, or he did that to me, or these things. Don't even say these things. So when you see next time when some friends are doing these things to you, you can sit there with this sadness, with empathy. Alas, they don't know that everything's impermanent. So instead of thinking they are being hard on you, or they try to sort of, pour down their misery on you, they don't know that even. They don't even know these things. And so then one needs to meditate on compassion for not only what they're complaining, for them not knowing how things are all impermanent. People going hither to thither, complaining, they did this to me, he did this to me, and he didn't do this to me. All these things are just a complaint because they didn't understand impermanence. How much someone can love you, how much someone can care for you. Give them a break. There is no eternally loving person. There will be a very good patch of kindness, and then they get frustrated, And you only remember the frustrating thing when they did. You don't remember any kind and loving, tender thing they did years and years before. See? That's the sadness about it. So forgetful that there was amazing rising period of the person's love to you. There was amazing effort that person gave in the best, robust moment. But their energy also flops. They have also failed. It's not fault of theirs. It's nature of reality. So we only remember that bit, don't we? See, that's the problem. We think the person is being unreasonable to us. That's nature of reality. That's the nature of reality. They who are at peace, meaning those who have heard the impermanence teaching and know that everything is impermanent, they don't think about impermanence when catastrophe hits, but even when things are going very well, they still meditate impermanence. Oh, right now they are playing in this. Soon it won't be the case. Childish beings get attached to this, but soon they were crying. Oh, so you could almost fast forward what's going to happen. You're not going to sort of sad or somber, grim face because of impermanence, but you're constantly meditating on compassion for beings who do not know this, and then make it a big fuss to each other. They think that they are losing something, or it's this. Those two are, if you are one who's attached to permanence, it is a losing. Yes, it's painful, but those who know the impermanent, they're at peace. They're at peace. Those who are at peace rest at ease. They will not complain about it because that's the nature of things. All the fruits on the tree will drop unless you hire the pickers. At a price, of course. See whether the profit is bigger by the pickers or not get attached to those drops. What if you can't sell it on time even though you picked on time? Yeah, you have no idea how those people sell food and fruit have huge losses. They look very impressive. But if nobody bought, they hired the pickers and transporters, all of that, but soon they went bankrupt because nobody bought it. Not because apple didn't grow, not because they weren't picked up, but because nobody bought it. Maybe there was too much a supply. See, that's the nature of things. But those who know that kind of thing, they will have contingency plan. Oh, something you just have to always allow some losses, and so you don't feel a great loss. So it's not because things are impermanent that people suffer. It's because people don't know they are impermanent. It's the knowledge they're lacking. That's why I say gladden your mind. You're listening to something that's really, really useful. That it says elsewhere, not in this collection, but those who think of impermanence, it's better than paying homage to the Buddha. Even if they just fill this whole universe with the riches and offer to the Buddha, people think, wow. But he says, in reality, thinking of impermanence and meditating on that is more cause of your peace and able to let go and able to say, part well in dignified way, whether by death or whatever. It's not a great tragedy because you are able to be at peace. Yeah? What this? Third verse. Fourth one. Tedarabdum barwala. Those who are being burnt. Yeah? What joy is there? So meaning those who do not know the above, who are blazing their mind by attachment, and why is it happening to me, and why is this happening to this? Those who are burning themselves in the self-created fire of attachment and sadness, then they're just burning themselves in the inferno of attachment. Those who are being burnt by attachment, by the fire of anger, they are being burned. What joy is there? How could they ever have joy? They can't part well to say, oh, we had a wonderful journey in life, or whatever, oh, we had a wonderful 3 years working together. One is not able to part that way. One is then become angry, why did he do that, therefore I can't have this, and one is blaming and naming each other, and then the anger will be burning oneself. And how could they possibly? Means what joy is there? They don't know how to be joyful to in parting. Some people praying to part. Other people are lamenting when part. People cannot make their mind. So those who are being wondered, what joy is there? What subject is there to rejoice in? There's hardly anything, whether they look at food, or the garden, or their work, or their art, their writing. Everything looks so meaningless. The person who's inflamed by attachment to something, and then when they realize it's collapsing or realize it's not going to last long, and then everything they have is become meaningless, hollow, and they lose interest, and so what could make them happy? This what subject? You can talk about anything, they don't get interested. You want to give something object, they are not happy. You can take somewhere else, they cannot be happy. They're completely despairing and depressed. Even depression is caused by not able to understand impermanence, not able to let go when you lost something, not able to accept what you don't have. Yeah? Those who are entered in the dwell in darkness. Now that's like bringing yourself in darkness. Yeah, one become very, very burned by attachment and anger, then become very, very, don't want to go anywhere, just stay at one place, one is entering the darkness. Why do they not seek the light? Wow. So why don't they find light that they can find their way around without going further into darkness? So resorting to anger and blaming and alcoholism. Yeah, alcoholism is only a darkness that people are trying to mask themselves. It's not because it's so delicious. When people first think, they feel like throwing away. It's not palatable taste-wise, I'm told. We try a little bit in some ceremonies. It looks like I'm glad I don't drink this. Yeah, they're seeking that in order to bury their emotions and stories, and so they're going more in darkness. It's so that's those people who listen to Dharma. They should drink the knowledge of Dharma to quench their thirst, not seek darkness. Not only of the loss of something or whatever, but on top of that, people are not coping with changes. Then they drink, then they smoke, then they seek companions who encourage that. And that's what the darkness is. They do dark things at dark places, at dark hours, or wee hours, small hours. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Yeah, then they meet the troubles. And because there are such places. See, Buddha sees sentient beings self-brought, self-caused sufferings due to non-exposure to the teaching of the Udanavarga, impermanence. Rupativa Dokdavas. Now this is now going into more detail because this topic of impermanence. Yeah? Rupativa Dokdava means pigeon-colored bones. If your bone has become pigeon-colored, means the bone has left, the flesh has dropped off the dead body, and the bone is just exposed to the elements, become somewhat bluish color. Yeah, it's talking about that. Rupativa Dokdavas, the pigeon-colored bones that are thrown away and scattered in every direction. Parvakani Didanes. They are scattered everywhere. There's nobody saying it's my loved ones. They're just scattered everywhere. Scattered everywhere. this is in ancient times. These days we don't do this in civilized world. We put a nice headstone and don't cover them up and put in a very shiny box. And even brighter gold written names on the headstone, so we don't get to see these things. But if you really just go to the cemetery, look at those headstones and just looking at the dates and how young they died, it's pretty much pigeon colored. Pigeon colored. Now, what joy is there seeing them strewn all over? Now this is talking about that eventually, no matter how handsome, tall, strong, able person they may look when they are dressed and clothed and manicured and so on, pedicured as well. But eventually, that's what they're going to be end body like, you know. So it's a very important meditation, particularly to remedy attachment. When people attach to each other and they can't part or they can't cope with each other's death or whatever. These are the time we need to meditate, you know. And this is not to introduce some somberness and it's kind of a lack of joyness, that you actually learn to rejoice, do things together lovingly, patiently while we are alive. You know, otherwise we're just bag of bones. There isn't anything there. So one needs to meditate. One needs to go in this country. You can go to cemeteries. They're all very, very obvious how many people died. If you just go in the local registry office, that is each year how many people died. They give you all the list how young some died and so on. These are all written there. Tendong dila jishiga means, do you draw any delight in seeing this kind of body? That's what all even inevitably going to happen. Kangji numu konan is, you know, he who's entered the womb on the night. From that very first night, then a demon draw you without pausing a moment. He's going on and on, on and on. Meaning that there will be no coming back again. You know, he's always heading towards the very inevitable destination. Ever since he entered the womb, he's heading only to one direction. There is no time to have tea here and delay the going. Even you're having tea, you're still going toward that nearer and nearer. Even you delay some duties and activities, you're still going towards that without any delay. So going toward the inevitable chamber is no delay. So this is talking about the shortness of time. Very important. People are always planning long term. You know, the suffering comes from planning long time that you won't have. When you think of short term, you become more punctual, you become more realistic, and don't take on too much on your plate, but take reasonable things, focus on that, and then you'll be actually able to pay attention to those, because you know that there will be time you're never going to come back. And so therefore, you might as well not take on too much. And so therefore, realistically assess how you're going to spend the day. What I'm going to do with these hours. That's better than yesterday. It's better than last year. This is what this teaching is for, because you have limited time. And so you must be prepared to make maximum use of the time to the fullest use before a sudden abrupt end come to an end. So you will be no time coming back. No time to come back and change your mind. Means one sees many people in the morning, some of whom you will not see in the afternoon. Kepa pume mangboda, chiro kyo mangdawa, seeing many people in the afternoon, ngaro kaji tomingi. Next morning, you won't see some of them. So this is talking about how many people are always getting fewer and fewer in every home. Maybe one time the house had 10 people. Now there's only 2 left. And one time there would be not even either of them will be left. So this is the story, a story of everybody. This is not some Buddha telling that will happen and hasn't happened yet before. It's actually have happened a lot. I know from my own home when I go. Before it was all like 11 or 12 people. Now it's only my brother. He was the only survivor. Everybody, all the elder ones passed away. All the other brothers and sisters left and they've gone different place, and they're all putting their other feet in the graveyard also. So they're all heading to the same. And then in the home, then just he alone. It's like that. Big home was prepared, was expanded for all these people. Now it's stuck like that. And every home is like that. They call downsizing in the West. Very, very nice name, but they're downsizing because there's no occupants. Occupants are leaving as soon as they're starting to. As soon as they've been pay the mortgage, then they die. What a sad, and yet they enslave themselves whole life just to save every penny, just for the sake of having a building standing behind their body. What for? But in the meantime, they live miserably, argue each other over miserable things, mean to each other, angry at each other, complain at each other. That's the reason why why Dhammapada was lamenting at the beginning. They bring themselves the suffering unnecessarily by disregarding these teachings. He says, if many men and women die, even in their prime youth, which is a story, which happens everywhere, You can't say it only happens in third world countries, even in developed countries. Then many people die very young. What confidence is there, and call this is a young person that he will stay alive and survive long, there is no confidence anybody to live so long. You can't say he's young, he's strong, everything going forward. Yeah, exactly. I was saying to our family, to Ben and friend, all the boys very well educated, they all got married, and then they're just starting to get a good job and starting to pull income. And then when it's real time for the mother to put feet up and then she dies. It's like that. All the hard effort they put for didn't have any time to enjoy, because all the sweat and tear shed for almost nothing. But of course, when there's love between the survivors and the dying, part very well and care for each other, look after them dying and care for them with extraordinary dedication, even never mind losing the job. That kind of is really non-regrettable. Then you will never remorse losing your dad or mom if you did give. Otherwise, one feels so angry that one didn't do anything to repay the kindness while they're alive. Because one doesn't think of the inevitable. So that's why one should never put it off what is good, such as repaying the kindness of each other and reconciling them, forgiving each other. Because life is so short and we'll be dead one day. Why not make peace with this? And this is the teaching. This is the teaching. What he said, learn with gladness. That glad that you heard that, and then as a result of that, you really change your mind and did not delay, did not ignore, and went and made something to make yourself feel, wow, that was great. I did that without further delay. 가직 너도 치버리고 some die in the womb. 대신 가직 재사치 some die at birth. 대신 가직 곡점라 some die just as they learn to crawl. 대신 가직 용주구나 some die when they're able to run all around. So these are just a few examples of dying, some stillbirth they call. It's a mother's womb. Some call miscarriage they call. They call miscarriage. Sexual miscarriage means the death before the baby actually developed. So this kind of thing happens. So much joy, so much anticipation, buy the cot, buy the baby's clothes, everything prepared, everything, but then the baby died. And this happens quite a lot of time, And then they already got photos of whether it's going to be male or female or everything, and then at birth they died. Sometimes both mother and the baby. These days, thank goodness of our medical technology, it saves a lot of people's, lots of people in third world countries. Mother, baby died both together because of there's no help, no knowledge, no remedies. So fragile. Our life is very fragile. There's nothing strong about our body. It's completely made up of very, very soluble objects. Very, very fragile things. From almost like just tiny little drops, white drop of semen and drop of blood. These are the two things that it made out of basically very, very insignificant thing. How could it be something solid so strong? There isn't anything solid in us. No matter how much your medical checkup says you're all fine, don't ever think you get longer to live. You should still make preparation to do few things before inevitable happens. Make peace with yourself, with others, practice generosity, kindness, forgive each other, celebrate, thank each other. Then you will not be lamenting. You will not be sad when your loved one died or you died. And you will not bring sadness to the others because you at least did all the things that this teaching are pointing to do. Lala genda, lala shu, lala tala babime. Some die old, some die young. Some die in the prime youth. Rimgir up the road. Gradually everybody goes. Devu mimba lungshin, lungyurshin means just like a ripened fruit will drop one by one. Prop, prop, prop. You can hear them, don't you? When you're sleeping very close to the fruit tree, you can see them dropping. You think some people coming? No, it's a fruit dropping. All of them, one by one, dropping. There's no dropped fruit going up to the leaves, up to the branches. No such things. There's only the dropping happening. This is inevitable. So the karma of individuals are that some die so long, some die so young, others live so long. One who was healthy died in no time. One who was sick and aged and had many medical complications still standing. This looks like you don't have to be sick to die. You just have to be fit to die. Because death is so simple, so easy to abruptly cut the line, basically. It's like a storm. Power goes off. Yeah, life is a storm. It can come, it can hit you anytime. So, not just think of death. Anything you call a you can call it a kind of a catastrophe, crisis in your life. Don't think that is uniquely bad about you. If you didn't part that way, you would part another way. So in the end, we're parting anyway. So don't bash yourself or the other. It's very important. This is the teachings. People are still hurt, still angry, still can't trust anybody. Double attitude. Gosh, you can't trust the law of impermanence. They can trust anything. Have trust something that is at least reliable. How can you trust somebody who doesn't even know how long he's going to live? How good is his endurance? How good is his generosity? He's trying his best, poor man. But don't think it's all his fault that your life didn't work well. No, it's law of impermanence. Everything snaps. At least expected time. So this will empower you not to blame and name. Straight away, you will be at peace. You have the dignity to complain nobody. Why? all productions disintegrate in no time. It doesn't need to be this thing or that thing. It just have to be created. That's all. You go to those shops. There's narrow alleys. All the selling these amazing delicate cups in China. They say, don't touch. They say, it's broken. Sold. They say. They're selling some breakable things, and we haven't even used it. They think they sold us. They shouldn't sell such breakable objects. They don't realize their product is like that. Not because customers going to come to and they'll break. We're so attached to form, to structures, and then we complain. Then we think it's terrible. But then we just go up in arms. This shouldn't happen, everything. Huge empires came, disappeared. Huge, amazing institution came and did amazing work, but it too had its own days numbered. You can't say it's a fault of who. Don't be hard on any one individual because something didn't continue. It's not fair on anybody. It's the nature of reality. See, we will have the dignity not to blame anybody and accept with grace. That is the gladness. If we really heed to the teaching, we will know how to do that. Penandiwa mimbanam says, Penandiwa mimbanam, just as the ripe fruit, always goes to waste from falling. As soon as falling, that fruit go rotten, isn't it? Likewise, he who is born will always become destroyed by death. It's inevitable. When one is able to think like that, then we start to have some kind of grace, not to say, why did you do that? Why did you do that to me? That kind of attitude. Do you think he really deliberately did it? He had no idea. The other car hit this car, then this car was the thing. Why did you do that to me? He had no idea he was doing that even to you, even to himself, let alone to us. So, see, it wouldn't even occur to our mind, let alone voicing them, when you understand impermanence. See, this is the grace. There's the dignity of non-attachment. Because that's what it is. You're not trying to go against the current. You're going to flow with the nature. And if a very beautiful plate or cup breaks next time, you'll see whether you scream or whether you calmly go and bring the broom. Yeah, it's good. Why did you do that or something? You can see the frustration, attachment coming in. That's why the monks travel around the world making beautiful mandalas. And then after the mandala is completed, they just sweep it in front of everybody. Teach this kind of, this kind of teaching in action, Because we are so used to get attached. Artists do something, they put the signature, they frame it up. They don't quickly do that as a teaching. They think it's a thing, it's a possession. They don't think it's a knowledge thing to teach each other. Or they make sculptures out of butter so that it can last as short as possible. At least in Tibet, you can keep it a bit long because of the weather, like ice sculpture they do in places, icy places. But in hot places, you can't even shape the damn butter. Even to put it's difficult. So, these examples are beautiful. Have a look. And number 12, he says, just as the fire pots penna zame kembois, jimbalene nurcheva. Just as the fire pot met by the master potter from clay, thamche thaman jigbadan will be broken in the end. Minam sojan tehin knows. It is same with the life of every mortal person. Yeah. So we just like a pot. We just like pot been fired in mother's womb. And comes out little bubbly baby and stays there a little while. Yeah. How soon would that pot remain pot, soon one day the pot will be all broken, pot will be all broken. Even particularly specifically kept and guarded and even insured. Some people even insure their pots from breaking, They will all break, So this analogy of pot is very important because the potter in Buddhism is used as an example of karma, how we create karma. So it's very important. People think that karma is permanent. And no, karma is not permanent. Even karma is impermanent. You can change karma. Why we teach karma if we can't change karma? So that's why the pot could be no pot in no time. And it goes back being part of the earth where it came from. So likewise, there's no loss. To the Mother Earth, it's not a loss. It's not a victory gain when it becomes a cup. It's not a sad day when it becomes broken. The Earth says, what is the fuss? These human beings. It's my pieces, my skin they're playing with. But the human beings are sort of celebrating one moment and crying another moment. It's like that. Adult people, when the children's toys are, then kids are grown up, they actually virtually want to give it away. Even if they don't give it away, they'll sell like 50 cents a piece or something. Gosh, and they paid a lot more than that. They pretty look good, but they just have no interest in the damn thing. It's just like a pigeon-colored bone. The toys look very, very untoy. Yes. So all things are like that. So to invest attachment to any of these things is indeed cause of anguish. Not just material things, but even you put a lot of emotional investment in love or respect or affection. It's not a cause of attachment. You shouldn't get attached to. Attachment was never promoted by the Buddha. Loving kindness is completely different from attachment. Loving kindness is towards all sentient beings. There's unique love between mother and child and so on, some under care, some under sort of blood relatives, others with the heart relatives, some may be uniquely kind of a unique form of friendship, there may be some kind of there, but it's still not worthy of attachment. It's only cause of suffering. So that's why, those beautiful pot-like relationships, are all breakable. And it's not singly fault of yours or theirs or even combination of the two. There are a lot of other forces that are at play. We should think like, then we are kind to them and kind to us. Otherwise, we think that we are a bit of a victim, or we think we are just a bit of a failure to ourselves. It's just, that loss is already bad enough. Why we have to battle again and again? Because we don't know how to rest at peace. With the dignity of the power of the knowledge that everything is impermanent. In the first place, you should have known that. And so, that doesn't stop us caring, using the china or plate carefully, however long it lasts. But if you use lot of sort of soap and so on. It might slip out of your hand one accidentally. You want to wash it so carefully that it just slipped out of the very frothy liquid. And the glove, by the way. It was a not gloved hand, maybe it was a better grip. Yes. Everything is breakable and fragile. Now these are examples, beautiful examples, one by one. That was pottery. So this another example is about loom. It says, it's just as the thread that cross the woof in weaving becomes stretched across the end of loom. It's the same with the life of mortal man. How long can keep, pulling the thread from one end of the loom to another. In the end, that you will run out of thread or run out of loom, So you can't keep doing that. No matter how big a bundle the rope is, or thread is, or loom is, you will always run out. So, therefore, like this. If it was an endless loom, they could have never woven this carpet, for instance. Because they know how long, where it ends and where it starts. It will be done in 3 weeks. Otherwise, there will be endless loom. Even the longest loom, tapestry in Parliament Wall, I'm sure it ended whenever it ended. So our life is like a loom, continuously. It will come and abrupt end and run out of thread. You have to either ask for more supply or just stop there. So we run out of steam, of merit, and we call karma, dharma, and merit. If these things are all exhausting, you couldn't continue. If you're young, you have no merit left, you have no karma, you have no lifespan, and how could your prana continue? Your life force could not exist, because it's like a bar lamp which is run out of the fuel as well as the wick, as well as the maybe wind. So then it can't, just out of battery. Out of battery, How long is your battery? How long is our battery? We don't know. We talk about battery of life and battery of other things. And some things we just ran out of steam long time ago. We just stopped it. We don't want to do it anymore. Yeah, some things we just pick it up and quickly stop it. So why aren't other people not allowed to do that? Everything's law of impermanence dictates, and therefore we can be kind to each other. Everything's impermanent. They ran out of steam. They ran out of thread. Not that they didn't try. So not be too much put pressure on each other for failing on us or giving up on us. So we are much kinder towards each other's limitations, and do not have unrealistic expectation and then complain how abruptly they stopped on us or gave up on us or whatever it is. It looked that way, but it's not like that, poor thing. Alas, that's what alas is for. That's why it's so sad that people don't know. People don't understand each other. Always misunderstanding. The real thing isn't quite like that. They don't know that. They don't pay attention. Why Buddha had to himself got enlightened? Why he had to specifically address this topic with such meticulous care, verse after verse, so that there is not a lot of people who are despairing due to lack of their access to knowledge of impermanence. That's why he wants this statement to be heard and heeded to and not forgotten. Write a couple of them, engrave them, and give to each other. It's great blessings. So next one is Penang Eprasepada Komba Kangbo you. Just as those who are condemned to death approach nearer to the gallows as they take each step. So this is an analogy of a condemned person driven towards the gallows. The first was the potter, and then was the loom, and now is the gallows. This person walking towards the gallows. And there's every step he takes, he's going towards that. But we think that's happening to him because he's condemned to death. But wait a minute, we're also doing that. We're just sitting here, but hoping like this, hoping towards the gallows, except that we wouldn't be hanged, hopefully not. Run out of breath, we just hop like this, but all of a sudden we'll run out of breath, So what's the difference between a person who's condemned to death by his wrongdoing or death by his birth? Basically same. I heard someone say that he was really amazing monk, and he was really protecting His Holiness Dalai Lama. He says some people said there's a danger to his life, and he shouldn't be speaking so strongly. All those people, opposition. He said, doesn't matter, I have to die anyway. So if I have to die what I believe, let me die while doing that. Because even if they don't do this, I'll die anyway, he said. At least this time I'll die standing. which is like a courage of a martyr. He doesn't mind. He wouldn't give up on this fight. Just because people are like that type of thing. So it's just expression of his solidarity. So that's a beautiful analogy. Analogy is not beautiful, but reality is so. The analogy in Buddhist teaching, they use a parable analogy, and then they try to authenticate the meaning they're trying to explain. Yeah, use the analogy, and then come back to the point that even we're sitting here, even we go somewhere nobody knows where we are. Death will find you. and you're sure your friend doesn't know where you are, but death will. So that's what you're talking about, So there's no. So that's an example of the one condemned to death. Next is an analogy of the next one. Chulung chadu babigyu dokba meba chetarwa means just as a torrential river is always running uninterruptedly, it is same with the passage of man's life. There will be no coming back. So this is talking about this river that is continuously falling. And the river is never turning back where it came from. It's going nearer and nearer, eventually to the ocean. It will merge with the salty water. It will not stretch fresh spring water of the mountain that it used to be. Then it merges with some big rivers, muddy water, and then eventually it will never stay the streams. Likewise, no matter how fresh and young and strong and able and so on, slowly we too, without even turning an inch back, that person's life is ebbing, just cloth is ticking. Without turning away, we are heading to the inevitable resting place called death. So what does this really mean is we have to be a little bit more careful about what we do, what we really have to do today, what we really have to do that are important. Am I wasting away doing some things just because everybody does it, or do I really don't need to do some of them? There are really very important things we really want to do before we die for someone, even for ourselves. We have neglected it. We have always forgotten ourselves. Just go and give yourself a good treat, or whatever, And so, practice the Dharma. Like this. Just study. Come to listen to the Udanavarga each week with great enthusiasm. And this And you will never find wasting time in doing this. It will add you to your ability to die well, part well, and let go well. Previously, we may be clinging now, we may be complaining, we're still really, we can't let go of things, we're just still whinging. But you will notice, you're no longer doing that. Why? Because you knew one day you won't have any time to do that. You might as well make your mind work at its best to know what is inevitably going to happen. That's verse number 15. And then number 16 goes, Gawanyitan tungwada teidunga dembada. Nyuwa konan jigud chula yuguti bashin. Now this is an example of, there's only fleeting happiness. You're looking at happiness. If you're enjoying something, it's still a fleeting moment. It won't be there very long. There's only fleeting happiness that are only mixed with sufferings. Yeah. The more you attach to the happiness, then soon it will turn sufferings. So even when the happiness is there, don't get attached to them, because the more you get attached, quickly you will suffer. And they'll mix with sufferings. All human happiness or pleasure are actually sufferings. They only think they are happiness, but actually sufferings. Suffering in disguise to the ordinary people. To the wise, they will not be enticed by these things or attached to them or mourn and when they lose these things. It swiftly disappears. Yeah, what you thought was fantastic, what you thought was good, it quickly will disappear. Like patterns drawn on the water with a wand. If you draw a pattern on the water with a stick or something, yeah, you can draw a little bit, but how long does it last? Yeah, quickly gone. It was so good and so pleasant or so friendly or so harmonious or so enjoyable or so together, all of a sudden snaps. You thought it would last long, didn't you? You thought the water will hold the drawing on the water for you, isn't it? No, it just it wouldn't even acknowledge you drew anything. At least on paper it is showing. At least on drops it is showing. But the water, no. So we must think like that. And then when people are angry because they were enjoying something and then they lost it. Well, it was a water drawing on. They get attached to it. That's as simple as that. They thought it was something really wonderful, but it actually wasn't just about drawing on the water. So they're lamenting for nothing, really. You see? So most beings haven't got any idea. They were crying for nothing. That they're attached to the drawing on the water. Just dive in the water. It is there somewhere. Go in the water. Go and dive in the water. Like the dog, the dog in the bridge, He had recently stolen a piece of meat, He was carrying this piece of meat and thinking that he can go somewhere quiet and eat. But in the meantime, he was really fearful that other dog is chasing him, so because they might snatch him off. So he's really insecure. So he's really running very fast. All of a sudden, he got a little time to rest because it was on the top of a bridge, He felt a cool breeze coming. He was still scared that they were coming behind him. He was really sure they are right next to him. And he looked like this, his own shadow reflecting the water, And then he thought that one dog was next to him about his neck, and he barked as soon as he dropped. When his meter dropped, he went after it. Then he got drowned, nearly drowned, but finally just coming out of there, poor thing, because he think there's another dog in the water. It's only a reflection, So it's like that, It's just a drawing in the water, and the reflection thinking that it is so. So next time you see something, there's nothing worthy of complaining or being angry, or it's just What's that? It's just like a sweeper again. Just bring the broom again. This time, of course, you can't. The drawing on the water cannot be. Yeah, this time I just swimming in have a good path. Could be good. Yeah. So that's an example of water. See, amazing. This is amazing. The mind of the Buddha is so, it makes us see clearly. Every analogy is elucidating the meaning, expressing the meaning in a graphic picture, isn't it? And imprinting an understanding that next time you will look with a different eye because you have got one. But now Chugnam he's just like a herdsman, drive his cattle by going to the herd. 대신 내단 가와이 미남치외 정도 게. So he says, just as a cowherd with his staff gathers his cattle into the stable, so disease and old age bring mankind in the presence of the Lord of the Death. He gathers everybody, make sure they're all rounded up, they don't miss out the dinner of old age and the sickness. So it's an amazing example. You go and collect your animals and lock up the garage, and everybody's saying, likewise, we are also being gathered by Lord of Death, by our sickness and death. We all make sure that we all don't miss out the old age or sickness or one or the other. So we are herded by that. We are herded by sickness and death and other things towards the inevitable, inevitable. These examples are so important. Next number is 18 is Chujen Gine Shutawur Nindan Semon Debai Menam Seya Senjuro Sojinyavan Jipari Gur. That means just as the waters of a brook flow on day and night, the hours of man's life, it draws nearer and nearer to its end. So they're talking about however small the river or spring or brook is. There's not a single moment they are stalling or they're stopping. You can hear their continuous, constant sounds. I can't quite make the sound. But however small the stream is, you can hear the stream flowing continuously, never ever stopping. Like clock, constantly clocking, It's just like that, Just and our lifespan is walking and finishing and exhausting. The fuel, if you like, of how long we will live. It's just exhausting by every moment. Just like if you look at your meter, you can see how much closer you're getting to the place you're going, or how less of the petrol you have. It's never increasing. It's always decreasing, and people look at the numbers, how long the car has lived or hasn't lived. They don't look at the actual form of it. They always look at the speedometer, before they look at it. Some car hasn't really. Looks very well looked after, but the meter says something else. So that's like some people looks very young, but the age is much higher than their actual face shows, or whatever it is. So we must always think this inevitably we are heading closer and closer towards that. Melze chela tsemoring, long is the night to him who is watching. Lamkitula Gandari, and great is the distance for him who is worn out. Tamjun number Mishipes, long is the cycle of samsara, Chibanamlang Korvaring. Yeah, long is the cycle of samsara to the fools who not know the law of impermanence. So these three amazing three examples. One is the night watchman, Even though he's 8-hour watch or whatever, it looks so long. Yeah. Another is the person who is traveling the distance so long, so long, you know. Another is the third one, yeah, another is the cycle samsara. To the fools who do not know the Dharma, the samsara is a long, you know. Actually, if you really look at it, it's only 8 hours. only maybe 20 miles or whatever it is. But one who hasn't got the teaching of the Holy Dharma, to him the samsara is very, very tiring. Very, very tiring. The one who has lived every day meaningfully, dharmically, he doesn't find any path that was long and boring. He has lived every hour or day to the best of his ability and hence not wasted. Therefore would not feel worn out. Doesn't feel like giving up on anything. He will still live the last day as the best day there is to live, and hence never feel as if he's missed out. Dala puyo deshindu noru chebe chibalang. He says, these children are mine, these riches are mine. You know, chiro nana damen sui puyin chishi no. He says, with these thoughts is the fool ruined. What are children and riches to one who is neither found within nor without? So it's talking about emptiness of self, you know. He thinks I have this, I have that, and then he feels together. But in reality, he himself is not to be found. So it's the highest level of impermanence is the emptiness of self, really, impermanence of self. And there's not a youthful one, a strong one, a diligent one, or a lazy one, or kind. We shouldn't lump ourselves, label ourselves like that. There isn't any permanent self that you can label and name yourself or anybody. It's a really powerful teaching to unlabel each other. Say if somebody says he's like that or she's like that, and he's done this to me, and you think that's the person, that's what. If you do that, then you're not alive. But you think that's wrong. There's no self. There is the name. It's just merely labeled by people's prejudices, their defilements, their anger, their childish mind, their attachment. When they like, they call honey or something. When they don't like, they call exactly the opposite. Opposite of honey would be opposite, isn't it? It's amazing. People call it amazing names. They said you should not call names. You know, if you call names, you tend to karmically create karma to be born like that. So therefore, we shouldn't think each other as fixed labels, and ourselves also shouldn't think the labels others give or ourselves. We should think I'm just an illusion. Then you want your level of attachment to my this, my that, my failing, my disappointment, these things. You would not sort of lump and bash yourself too much. So with this we have concluded here. We will conclude here tonight. The verse number 20. Every word, every analogy, those things are worthy to remember, because the Udanavarga are the deliberate, wise sayings of the Buddha. They said recollection of Buddha is good to remember, but recollecting what he taught, that makes sense to us, is even more useful, because then remembering of the Buddha is not an attachment to a personage. You know? Rather, that the teaching that Buddha gave is so useful and so medicine-like to be and to negotiate life's challenges. So with this we'll conclude. We'll do the dedication.